Hello. Welcome to Chewed Gum. It is January 7th. I almost said June 7th. It feels like another lifetime since we were all here together. I'm Promise. This is Alyssa. And Alyssa, I was thinking about it. It's been a minute since we, for anybody new, since we have taken time to kind of explain who we are and what we do, which really I do nothing and you are an expert. So I would love if you wanted to take a second and kind of talk about what you do and first of all of your skills.
Okay. It's crazy that you say things like that. And every time you say something, I need to think of a consequence for when you say things like that, because it's so nuts that you say it. Anyway, you're crazy. And I'm Alyssa. I'm a sex and relationship coach. I have completed an ASEX certification program to be a sex educator, and I have one-on-one clients. And I've been studying this for about 3 years. So I have a wealth of knowledge to share about all things intimacy, and it is my passion in life, and I love it so much. So what other talents do I have? I do pretty good karaoke.
Talent. Nice.
Yeah.
I've never done
good karaoke. That's crazy. You're a literal musician. Well, actually, I would argue that you're constantly doing karaoke then.
Well, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, I can't do karaoke, but I would love to come be an audience member where you're doing karaoke. That will have to happen on our world tour together.
Exactly. And when we have our day of actually being reunited, or not even reunited, united
for the first time.
Maybe we get to do karaoke that day.
I would love it. I would love that so much. It's still absolutely insane that we haven't met in person.
It really makes no sense to me at
really
all.
Wild. I was talking to over Christmas break. I was telling a family member, I was like, oh, my friend Alyssa, blah, blah. And they were like, have you guys even met yet? I was like, that is a minor detail.
As a matter of fact, no. But it doesn't actually matter to our friendship at all.
That is true. That is so true. Except for, I'm not going to lie, and I know I commented this on your beautiful Instagram video of your year. And I was watching it. I was like, I love this. And I was like, oh my God, there's no, we don't have a friendship moment out at some cute restaurant or, at some event or anything. So I think, and I actually did say this, I don't think you were there for the New Year's Eve live stream thing. I don't believe in New Year's resolutions or goals or any of that. But if I have to have one this year, it's that we actually hang out and have one of those memories. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Also, look what I have.
Oh! Yay! I have
one of
mine
my
upstairs.
new favorite mugs.
It's so cute.
I didn't even get mine yet. I ordered mine, but it's not here. No, didn't get it.
I love it. Who won? Do we know who won? Did you win?
I think it was me.
But yeah, girl.
At least last I heard, I was in the lead. And this whole table that I'm using right now is like so precarious. You guys, we might have a moment in the show where the table just like flips over. So every time I set something on it, I'm very scared.
Yeah.
But I think I was in the lead last I saw, but I don't know when we're ending this because I think you can still go get the mugs. So if you guys haven't purchased your mug.
I looked today and it shows up as all of them being sold out. So I think that they're not available anymore. And I was so sad because I finally got my mug that I was like, I want to post with my mugs. And then I was like, well, now I feel bad because I'm going to post about it and people can't get it. So
yeah. Well, now we can all just have fun having matching mugs together. So at least there's that.
Exactly.
How was your?
Wait, you didn't give your background on who you are.
My background is that I am a friend of Alyssa's who gets to hang out with her on Tuesday nights. You guys, if you know me, then you know me. Usually as Eve was framed, we're slowly helping you guys adjust to the fact that my name is actually Promise. And yes, that's my government name. Eve is kind of what people pick for me because what I do is I've been a content creator, which I hate that term so much, but now I realized I have to use it, on TikTok and Instagram and all of that, where I've talked about my experience. I grew up evangelical Christian. I was in ministry school. I was a worship leader at one of the big worship music places, for lack of a better, I don't know what you call that. And long story short, I became an atheist. And here I am talking about the harm caused by religion and specifically evangelicalism in the United States, and then Christian nationalism, because I was definitely raised with that flavor of everything. So here I am making TikToks. That's what I do. And TikTok's about to be banned. So that's exciting too.
Yeah, I know. And also, content creator, even though it does feel a little ick sometimes, it's better than influencer.
Good God. I hate that term so much.
It's so bad.
What separates somebody? Because to me, I actually call myself an activist because what nobody knows is I also do stuff off of the internet that I am working on. They're long-term projects that I hope to talk about this year. But I have more going on. My activism continues offline as well. So then when I get called, like a lot of people, and I know they don't mean anything bad by it, but like they'll have me on their podcast and then I don't know if this happens to you and they'll be like, influencer, Promise. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not an influencer. Like also I've never done a makeup review or anything like that. And that's what I think of when I think of as influencers, more like a lifestyle influencer. I don't know. What do you think the difference is between what we do and influencer? Or are we just influencers?
I think influencers are people who are influencing purchases. Like that's how I view it, is it's like people whose function on the internet is to like sell things. And I think that our function on the internet is like to share information and create communities. And to me, that's like content creation and also just to like share our lives. And to me, that's content creation more than it is like influencer. Like we're not really influencing people to do anything. We're just like, we're more so like creating space for communities and conversations that maybe wouldn't have happened anywhere else. That's how I view it.
Love it said that way. And that's probably why people don't introduce me that way on their podcast, because they're like, influencer.
Yeah. I don't know. How was your New Year's?
I was gonna ask you, how was your Christmas and New Year's and all of that? Mine was good. We spent most of it with my family, which, like anybody, I think that comes with its I wouldn't say there was any major downs, although we did all get sick, so that was exciting.
Oh
But
no.
there's always little things, and like I am the only atheist in the family other than my husband, so there's a lot of um, religious talk and anti-science and that kind of stuff where little things are
Mm,
said and nobody means anything bad by it. And I know I am outnumbered, so I get it. They can be how they are. But, for anybody else that dealt with that, I feel you. It's still difficult. It's
yeah.
still sad. It makes you want to like be like, oh, come on. There's like a whole nother world out there. But it was overall a good time. I got lots of fun time with my nephews that I never get to see. And um,
Yeah.
also, I ate so much caviar, and
Did you?
that was it. I ate so much. I had caviar yesterday, so
You're
I'm
in
doing.
you're in like a you're in a caviar moment right now, and I love it for you.
Yeah,
Like if if you if you are a person who would believe in manifesting, I think you're manifesting caviar lifestyle. Like you're bringing that into the into
I'm
the
manifesting
equation
it
now.
via telling my husband how much I want that all the time, and luckily he also wants caviar all the time, so he just keeps being like, "Should I go get us some caviar?" I'm like, "Yes,
I love
absolutely, you
that.
should. I'm never gonna say no."
I
So it's
love
good,
that.
good
And
times.
I had caviar over New Year's and I felt very fancy. So I'm loving that you're like infusing this into your everyday life. That is so glamorous of you.
I will say we've been getting the like cheaper caviar most of the times. A couple of times we had
Whatever.
some of the nicer stuff, but I don't care. I'm sitting there, I'm having a moment with all these cute little bites, and
Yeah.
it's my favorite thing. I will say to anybody who decides to go try some caviar, you have to have it on those if you're not allergic. Have you heard of the like corn craze chips? I think they're just like called craze.
No.
They have them at Publix and Whole Foods, and they're so good. And they're just like this crunchy little chip. I don't know. They're amazing. I love them. That's my caviar tip.
Yum.
Now that I'm an expert
Okay.
in fancy snacks and cheap caviar.
I
But
love it.
how was your I saw some of your like Instagram stories. I was like, wow, she's living her best life ever. But how was your New Year's and Christmas and all of that?
So Christmas was great. I was just home with my family. Not just. I was home with my family and it was wonderful. I love my family and they're the best. And so we had a really nice time together. And then for New Year's, but we didn't do anything like crazy really, which is what I like. I like a low key holiday. Um, and then for New Year's, I got to go to Aspen, Colorado, which is gorgeous and very much rich people central. Like I felt tacky as hell there because I was like walking around. So the night that we got to have caviar, me and one other person who was at this dinner party who's like this person who's like from Alabama, like is not really engaged in like this lifestyle either. The two of us are looking at this tin of caviar that's in front of us and we're like, are you going to Google it or am I? And we're like calculating how much all of this costs because we're just so corny like that. But it was such
I
like
would
it was such like a like life that we were having access to for a brief moment in time that was so like I never thought that I would be in a space like that. So it was really cool. And I got to be with one of my best friends, Tora, and
Aw.
I was like a little emotional um through the holidays and like it was nice to be able to do that with what's it called with someone who I'm very close with and also to have
Yeah.
this like very cool opportunity but I also am embracing once again that I am not really a clubby person because the actual night of New Year's we got to go to like a David Guetta situation. He was DJing and
Oh,
the two of us
by David Guetta situation, you mean David Guetta.
yeah he was there
That's
he was
exciting.
there Yeah, it was exciting. And also, we were very like we were there until the it was midnight and left like 30 minutes after. We were like, okay, I think we can go. Like it was a lot. It was a lot. I think I've expired my club days for sure. But it was really beautiful, and I tried to snowboard. Oh my god, I was so bad.
I want to
I
try.
was
Have you
so
done
bad.
like any skiing or snowboarding or anything like that?
I've skied before a long time ago when I was a kid, and I was pretty like I was a natural at it back then. But snowboarding is very different, and it's also been
Okay.
probably 15 years since I tried it the last time. And so it was challenging, and it's okay. But I'm
I'm
feeling
proud of you for
very
trying.
yeah, I tried, and that's all that matters. And I've been doing this like leadership workshop thing for a couple of months, and it's been like such a gift in my life in general, and it's like made me really appreciate how grateful I am to have such like a wonderful community around me, and like including you and including Jimmy and like Morgan and who's listening and Arden, and like what a beautiful community that we've created just in this space. And this is one of like many communities that I get to be a part of, and it's just crazy. Like this whole day today, I'm like, what am I on my period again? Not to like throw that around, but I was like sobbing on not sobbing. I was like tearing up on and off all day
Aw,
today because I was like I just it's
I
crazy, but
love that.
it's so nice to like I'm usually not very good at being in my emotions like that, and this whole like process really helped me do that, and it's been so lovely. But I do be crying.
Aw, a little softy over here. Well, I
I
love
really
that. I am
am.
so glad that we're back together this month.
Me
We forgot to say at the
too.
beginning, you guys are welcome to call in. We've already got a bunch of callers on the line that we're about
Yes.
to chat with, but it's 720-619-2288. If you want to call us with any questions you have related to any of the topics we were just mentioning as far as what Alyssa and I both talk about and what our I'm not an expert, but my experiences that I have. And also, if you're a theist, you're welcome to call in and tell us which God you believe in, why. Let's chat about it. And theists will get
Hmm.
priority. I feel like there was something else. Oh, super chats, $5 or more. We will read those. But are you down to start with our first caller?
Yes, ma'am. We have two theists actually.
I see. So this first one, um,
Cool.
they're going by pray, he, they, and they say, I believe God is real. So let's hear which God they're talking about. Hello there. You are live on Chewed Gum with Promise and Alyssa.
I promise, Alyssa. My name is Prey,
Hello.
and yes, that's my real name.
Look at us.
I
Look at us with our names.
Pray and promise.
yeah, yes. I called to say that I believe in the Christian God. I recently, well, like 5 years ago, decided to become a Christian. Well, not decided, basically just I guess it just happened.
Sure. Well, so you believe in the Christian God. Did you grow up in a religious family? I'm asking just because of your name. People ask me that too.
Pray, you probably want to tap your phone to wake it up.
Yeah, if you're calling in from the
There you-
web link, then you have to like tap your phone and then we'll get you back. Hello, you there?
Yes.
Oh, there you are. Okay,
Hi.
awesome.
Yes.
There he is.
You might have to do that throughout the
Yeah.
call just to make sure we don't lose you.
Gotcha. Okay. Yes, I did go. I did grow up going to a Baptist church all the way up until the
Okay.
age of like 12.
Okay. And what made you decide, or what happened that led you to believing in a God and the Christian God?
Well, not really sure. I like some of the stuff. Like it seems real sometimes when I think about it. Like the talking donkey story is very extreme. But that maybe is why it's in the Bible, because So I feel like the Bible is honest, even though it's harsh.
How would you
But I don't.
determine if the Bible is honest or not? Like, do you think that the Quran is honest when it says that the moon split in half?
No, I haven't read the
Okay.
Quran, but that doesn't sound honest.
Okay, so what makes you not believe that, but believe that a donkey talked?
Well, donkeys they make a neighing sound anyway, so it isn't like an extreme stretch. Um,
I feel like making a
that it
sound is one thing, but speaking, because I don't know if you remember in the story, the donkey says something very specific. I can't remember exactly what, but I can look it up. It
I
says,
can't remember.
What
words.
is
That's the
this?
claim.
What is the
Alyssa's like,
story?
please
I'm not familiar
fill
with
me.
this. I'm like,
Let me find it real quick, because maybe this is a good jumping off point for us.
yeah, I'm not familiar
Got
with
my
this one.
Bible app. Let me pull it up.
Oh, I love that you have a Bible app.
Of course. Okay, so it's in Numbers 22, 21 through 39. And okay, so what happens is Balaam is beating his donkey because it's not moving, and because there's an angel blocking the path. And so the donkey, it says that God opens the monkey's mouth and it speaks to Balaam. And it says, "What have I done to you to make you beat me these 3 times?" Because it happened 3 times in a row. So to me, that feels similarly wild as claiming that the moon split in half. It's definitely different things, but we don't have to even talk about the Quran. We can just talk about the Bible. What makes you think that that's true, that that really happened?
Well, just the way an animal wouldn't want to be hit. I feel like that is something that they would say. Like if this, I mean, it's a horrible story. Hearing him beat the donkey. I think a lot of the stories are like, pretty bad in that way. Like make you feel bad. For instance, when they're in the garden and they're hiding from God, like that's so relatable to me that like the truth that it speaks when I hear the stories is like I can picture the stuff happening, or I could imagine myself in that place.
Right. I feel that way when I read all kinds of books. Even though I don't believe those things actually happened, I can still relate to story. I think that's very normal. And we as humans love to tell each other stories. Alyssa and I just sat here telling each other stories about, what we were doing a couple of weeks ago. I have reason to believe that what she told me was true for many reasons. Number one, Alyssa's here right now telling me these things. They match with the photo images that I saw that she was posting. And none of the claims were outrageous. If Alyssa showed up tonight and she told me, hey, a donkey actually started talking to me, I would really struggle to believe that that actually happened. I would have all kinds of other questions.
Right.
So it's even
Of course.
more difficult to believe that in a book where it's claiming, where the speaking donkey is not even close to the most ridiculous claim that it makes, it's really difficult for me to
No.
believe that. And I'm just curious how you got from that to believing in an entire God, instead of just reading a story and being like, oh, that's a cool story. I relate to different parts of this and it's entertaining. Alyssa,
A
feel free
lot
to
of it
chime in
might
whenever. Sorry.
also come to fear not to believe too. Like just because of like my upbringing too, like hearing some of that stuff. But like that does shape a mind, and like I can't necessarily say that the reasons I have are good reasons for other people to believe, but they have me pretty like frightened into believing, like
I'm
fully,
really sorry to
you
hear
know.
that because, yeah, I think fear is one of the worst reasons we can have to believe something. It's also the reason I would blame somebody for the least, because I used to believe stuff because I was afraid too. But if the only reason you have to believe something is a fear, then that's not a great reason. I am afraid of I'm trying to think of something, like of heights, of falling from something, but that's because I know that I could actually fall. I'm not afraid of hell
Yeah.
because there's nothing to indicate that hell is real at all. So I'm not going to believe it just because hell does sound scary. If it were real, I would be scared of it, but I don't believe that it's real.
course.
So I think that I really appreciate your honesty, and I think you're on a really good path.
I spent many years not being afraid too. Is the kind of strange thing, is because I spent a lot of years like not afraid, and then it just hit me again.
You don't have to answer this, but may I ask how old you are, or about how old you are?
I'm 43.
Okay, and when do you think the fear started hitting you?
When I was probably like 35, 36.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. I think that we go through a lot, I've had different times in my life where different anxieties come back in new ways. And, who knows what happened or what can happen with our brains and what triggers different fears. I will say, if you were raised to believe some of these things, that fear lives in your body. And until you address it, it's highly likely that it will come up again in some way, or in the same way, it was first indoctrinated into your head. So, I highly recommend asking yourself, like maybe taking time away from this call and sitting down and asking, like, do I have a good reason to believe this stuff other than I'm just afraid? And I've been too afraid to even explore this belief. Because if there is a God out there that is loving and kind and worthy of your worship, which I don't believe that exists, but if there were that God, and you were to honestly go out seeking and searching to see if this is true, they would not be punishing you for that honest seeking and searching. And so you don't have to be afraid of the searching and the seeking part. You can go do that and not worry about it, because if that God is an asshole, then that God's just going to be an asshole no matter what you do or don't do. And if that God is loving and kind and one that you would want to give your life to, then it's not going to have a problem with you honestly searching and asking yourself why you believe what you believe.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Alyssa, what do you think about all of this?
I think, I'm aligned with everything you're saying, and it does also make me sad that there's so much fear there, and that's what's holding you to this whole belief. Especially because I feel like many times when people talk about their faith, it's because they'll talk about their faith and describe it as something that is beneficial to them. And when you're operating out of fear like that, it feels like the thought that I have and the feeling that I have is like, geez, like why bother? Like why subscribe to something that you're so scared of when you could. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut in. I wouldn't convey the whole faith as always fear and only fear, to be fair. There's joy and in it as well, and hope. But yeah, I go to fear when I don't have, any real proof or any reason to say, hey, you should believe this. And that explains maybe why I do, but it isn't an only fear relationship, but that's beyond the point. And yeah, I didn't mean to interject.
No, it's okay. I mean, I appreciate that clarification, and I think it's interesting. So, in your opinion, what does your religion offer you?
Well, hope that eventually I will get to heaven and see, loved ones and my dog, and also, I guess, comfort in knowing that I wouldn't go to hell. Some of the negatives are I don't believe in some of the stuff with, like I definitely would be terrified of a Christian government. I feel bad for people that are, neurodivergent or, just that get trodden down by, some of the over doctrinization of government with Christian stuff, you know,
Yeah, for sure.
imposing
Those
it
are
on
valid
other
concerns.
people.
I have a question
Yeah.
for you,
So
Pray. Do you want to believe in a God and in Christianity because it's true, or do you want to believe it because it's offering you some comforts? Or
I
I
mean,
could say that about
honestly,
anything. Do you want to believe true
if it
things
wasn't true,
or
there's no way I would want to believe it. Um,
yeah,
you
I
know,
think it's
I would be
so worth you
foolish to
asking these
believe it if it
questions.
was fake.
Right. So I'll tell you, the things you're listing are really valid. Like you want hope in life, you want joy. Those are great things. Everyone usually, generally wants something close to those in their life. I have found those things without religion. And now I don't
Yeah.
have the fear because I don't have this looming threat of this hell or even, there's even an anxiety attached to heaven because it's like, oh, I got to make sure that's where I'm going and all this stuff. And I have found the coping skills that I need in life to deal with the idea of not having an afterlife. And for me, that means making the most of the time that I have with people here and now, and my dog who's downstairs, and all of that. So I think it's really human, the needs that you're expressing, and the hope I would like to offer you is that you can find all those beautiful things in life without this specific fear. There's always going to be things
Yeah.
in life that give us anxieties and fear and all of that. But there's this one that's so sinister because it's just not true. And you deserve to live a life without that hanging over your head, almost literally, except it's not there. So I really urge you to go sit and think about these things and have the
Yeah,
courage to
I
do that.
have. Yeah.
Also, I don't
Yeah.
have you heard of recoveringfromreligion.org?
Yeah. Yeah, I have.
Okay.
I've seen some links.
I would go check them out. They're not going to try to deconvert you. They're not going to try to convince you of anything. The number one thing I think they're going to help you with is the fear part. So, highly recommend that you have nothing to lose by exploring some of their resources. But yeah, I appreciate your honesty a lot. I really do. I'm sorry, Alyssa, because you were still asking stuff too, I think.
No, I mean, I agree with everything you're saying. And I think operating out of like what I hear is the reasons why you feel so like enrolled in this religion and in this belief is the fear of going to hell and the promise of going to heaven. And I wonder, and while I
Those are
understand
the
that,
main
especially like,
bargaining chips, yes.
yeah, those are the main bargaining chips, exactly. And I wonder, like, in the event that those things are not actually there, have you spent much of your life in fear that you didn't have to, that you in a way where you didn't have to, and like that?
In my case, I didn't because at like 11 or 12, I was my parents didn't push it that hard, and my older brother didn't want to go to church, so I didn't have to, and most of my life, I didn't live as a professing Christian or anything. I had nothing to do with it. It just the fear came back. Because I was fearful as like a 6-year-old, and then
Mhm.
as a 36-year-old too. It's strange.
Yeah, I think in our 30s we really come to terms with the mortality in a way that it's like, when you're in your 20s that you feel invincible, and then all of a sudden I feel like you hit 30 and you're like, oh, hold on. And everything changes a little bit. But I would encourage you to really look at where your belief system lies, because I have a feeling that the way that you are choosing to believe in faith is so based on this notion that you're going to be promised these pearly gates. And in the event that that does not happen, how do your does your day-to-day life change, if at all? Like, does it affect your day-to-day life in a way where, like, does fear drive other decisions in your life? Or do you find that your because of your faith, you're subscribed to other belief systems that maybe would kind of fall flat if your faith was not a big part of them anymore. I think faith is one thing, and it ties into so many other moral and ethical behaviors that that people have. So it would be an interesting thing to look at.
Yeah, definitely. No, thank you guys for your time.
Of
I
course. Thanks so
appreciate
much
it.
for calling, Pray. Will you give us a call
Thank you,
sometime if you have any
Pray.
updates for us?
Sure.
Awesome. Okay. Well, best of luck to you. Thanks again.
Thanks, Pray.
Thanks.
Have a good night.
I hate that. Like, when that was a great and honest way to say it, that it's those are the main bargaining chips, is this like heaven and hell.
Mhm.
And it's amazing how much control something can have over somebody's life when you have this perfect combo of this like promise of something good and then this threat of something terrible, but on like
Mhm.
extreme levels. And you have to like stay within these lines in order to achieve it. And that absolutely preys on any fear or anxiety that you already have in your life. So it makes sense to me that that would come back up later in life if you don't address it. So,
Yeah.
anyways,
I think it's interesting that
go ahead.
as people get older, they get that's like I noticed that even with my parents, that as they've gotten older, they've gotten more religious. And I'm like, I feel like you're meeting yourself where you're at right now in a way that you didn't have to
Yeah.
before. And now all of a sudden,
Yeah.
we're in Bible study. And I think that's really interesting.
Yeah. Yep. That'll do it to people.
Yeah. And I struggle with it because a part of me wonders, like, a part of my like gut instinct in when people do that is that it feels selfish. That it's like, you don't actually believe in this. You are just wanting to save your ass in the event that you drop dead today. And that feels selfish. And it feels like, even whether like in the teachings of the Bible, from my understanding, there is a sense of like doing things for other people, living in contribution to other people. And when people suddenly start to get religious when they're having their like midlife crisis, I'm like, well, are you enrolled and subscribed to the things that this alleged person is preaching, which is togetherness, working together, helping each other, serving each other, no matter who the person is? Or are you just so nervous that you're not going to make it? You're not going to be accepted when the time comes. And I don't know. I try to like hold my judgment on it because I know, I mean, mortality is complicated and religion is complicated and whatever, but my gut instinct, if I'm really honest with myself, is that it's selfish.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a fair assessment. And that's often associated with fear. Like, when people are afraid and they lean into the fear side of things, that's when people typically do some of the worst things or the most selfish things. And when they're having a moment of courage, when despite that fear, they're leaning into whatever part of them is able to do things for others or even for themselves, but in a less hunkering down kind of way, then that's where we see these, acts of bravery and kindness and stuff. So yeah, I think what I appreciate about Pray is that just on a like practical level is they could have leaned into the side where it's like, well, I'm terrified of this, and now I need to go make everybody else terrified of it too, which is what a lot of religious people do, because they have that fear and they don't want to live with it alone. And so that's where you get this like fire and brimstone preaching and, people out on the street corners at pride events because they have to spread that fear. So I appreciate that Pray is being honest and doesn't sound like they're trying to spread that fear. Yeah, it is a complex, it is a very complex thing. I've got some announcements. While I'm pulling those up, did you want to tell everybody, maybe Morgan can get the graphic ready, about our little surprise? Jimmy let us be the first ones to talk about it on our show, although by talk about it, we can't really talk about it.
Yeah,
but we can just hint at it.
So there's there's a fun little game that we are doing on the Patreon, and free patrons can also play this game. So even if you're not paying for the Patreon, if you're just like a part of the community, you can still play. And it is a contest. We are revealing an exciting announcement, and there is a little like graph chart. There it is. There she is. And every day, a new word will be added to the phrase here, and it'll consist of 8 words in total. The rules will also be on the Patreon, but I'm going to just lay them all out for you now. The first person to guess the entire phrase wins a $50 certificate to lionmerch.com. Multiple guesses on the same post will result in disqualification, and the next person eligible will win. And so there's only one guess per post allowed. And yeah, so you are going to guess what our big announcement is. Okay, so you can go to the Patreon. Even free patrons should get their butts over there because you can win a $50 gift certificate to lionmerch.com. And then you can use that for our Don't Apologize to Him sweatshirt or something else that you want. But you should get our Don't
I like
Apologize to
that
Him sweatshirt.
suggestion. I like that suggestion a lot. I am not going to lie. I just had to go look at, like, obviously I know what the announcement is because it's super secret and exciting and we're working on it, but I couldn't remember what it actually spells out. So I just had to go back to our text thread and be like, what does it say? So you guys can have fun guessing. I couldn't even guess when I knew what the topic was. But good luck. May the best guesser win. So is it, sorry if you just said this because I was reading. Is it that we're going to reveal like each host is going to reveal a new, like tomorrow will Matt reveal one? Is that how it goes? We'll find out.
I don't know how he wants to do that.
Out.
Every day there will be a new word added to that little graphic. So I don't know if maybe just over on the Patreon. On the show.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But I love this little game. I love that it's a contest. And what I love most about it is the news that we're sharing via the game.
Me too.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
Yes. So 8 days from now, it'll be the 16th? No, 15th? Yeah, 15th. And I think that's when we'll get like the full announcement, which is exciting.
Nice. I've got announcements. We have tomorrow the hang up with Matt Dillahunty and Dara Magic Skeptic. I hope I said that right. And then TACIS on Thursday, of course, with Arden and Luxander. And then the Sunday show with Matt Dillahunty, guest to be decided. It will not be me because it is my birthday weekend. And I am going to try to stay away from my phone and from all things. And then the After Dark show is going to be with...
What day is your birthday?
I love this delay. It's on Sunday.
Okay. I'll be calm about it.
I don't even know what I want to do yet, but something. I just know that I'm not going to be arguing with theists on my birthday. So I will not be here for that show. Get the guest host to be announced. And then After Dark show on Sunday evening will be Forrest and somebody else that will also, again, not be me. And then we have Skeptalk on Monday with Forrest. And, I can't read my own handwriting, but I think it says Rob. And then we have Chewed Gum again on Tuesday, and that will be Alyssa and myself. In fact, I think we're both going to be here all month, except for there's one day that I won't be here. And that is very upsetting to me because I thought we were going to have like the whole month. But next month should be back again. So
yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there. Oh, actually, I always tell Jimmy that I'll be around every day, and then I look at my calendar and I'm like,
actually,
I won't. I do have one day where I think on the 21st I have
that's the day I won't be here, so that's great. That will be someone else's problem, and you and I. Well, at least I don't have to have as much FOMO because you won't be here without me. Well,
yeah, I know.
Anyways, guys, you guys just got a little behind the scenes moment.
Yeah.
It'll be somebody cool. I actually have a couple of people in mind that, anyways, it'll be a good time. Shall we take another call? Also,
let's do it.
Super chats, there more, and we will read those at the end of the show.
Yes,
We've got
ma'am.
another theist. Are you all right if we continue prioritizing the theists?
Let's do it.
Hello?
Hey, Richard, you are on with Promise and Alyssa.
Hi, Richard.
How you all doing? Yeah, I got a question.
Doing well. How are you?
Okay. I know y'all stressed the time, so I'm going to get right to it. Now, I consider myself somewhat of a theist, but I'm trying to see, so I believe in a force or a power greater than, or that exists. So what, I was trying to see, like, I don't know if I'm a theist sometime or a polytheist, because I'm like, is there a name that you give this, or is it just something
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not going to be the one to be the expert on that because I just actively don't believe in any of those claims.
Okay.
I would be curious why you do believe that there's some. Did you say higher being or higher power that exists?
I would prefer, I would say a higher force or energy or something similar to that light versus a being or a person. Because we all people, and we ain't going to live to be thousands of years old or know everything and like that. But I
Yeah,
like
and
more
what-
of the I prescribe more to, like, you could say, like Stephen Hawking's type of how they get into certain things of science, showing how science bears witness, or Albert Einstein when he said that the religion of the future will be something similar to Buddhism, you know, in some of his writing. So I always found that more, because it's more a broad stroke brush than religion, which is more of a pen. You know, you have to do this. If you don't do that, you suffer and all of that, you know, versus like something that's more broad. So that's how I always look at it in terms of religion.
Yeah, I think for me, at the end of the day, I just care about what's true. So even if,
Right.
you know, religion is just like this pin that, you know, now you have to do things this certain way. If it was true, I would want to know that. And I would want to believe that because I want to know what it is I'm supposed to do or not do. So I know am I like fighting this God actively? Do I like this God? Like, you know, I want to know because I care about what's true. And similarly with what you're claiming, that you believe like this other, you know, I don't know if we can say entity or higher power energy that exists. I want to know if that's real and detectable in any way that matters to my life. And if it's not detectable, if it doesn't matter at all, then to me, it sounds more like what you're talking about is what I would just call some of the like mysteries of the universe that we don't know yet. And I can't wait for when we figure some more of them out because we figure new things out all the time and it's really exciting. And I don't need to claim that there's like this higher power because I don't even, it's so vague that I have to be honest, I don't really even know what you're describing. But at the end of the day, I think what matters is it true or not? I want to believe the things that are true.
Okay. I like that. Hello?
Oh,
Yeah,
I think
we're
you
good.
cut out there for a second, Richard, but we hear you now.
Okay. Like the I lost that thought. I'm looking at y'all on TV, but I got my phone in my hand, so it kind of threw me off.
Oh yeah, look away.
Right. So like light. You remember the experiment that they did with light? A prime example how they say when you look at the light, it changes its form somewhat. It becomes a particle or a wave. So that's a good example of just thought, which we know from like I have been studying also. I love to study like what you would call the occult. I love to study that because that just bears witness to so much of what science is just now catching up to. The occult been talking
In
about
what
this.
ways?
Like light, how all things, how light comes from darkness. Darkness is not bad, But light comes from
Light
darkness.
doesn't come from darkness.
Okay.
To me, I have to be totally honest. I love that you're interested in all of this, but it sounds like you're interested in quantum science, which I urge you to go learn more about and explore that.
Okay.
But that's something those are real people that are going out and exploring the universe around us and what we can actually figure out, instead of doing, like what you find in, quote, the occult, where people make these claims and throw stuff at the wall, and some things stick and some things don't. And then we try to say, oh, see, the occult proves science, or vice versa, or whatever. And it just because there's a little bit of overlap sometimes, like similarly to in the Bible, it talks about some things that we can be like, well, see, that's real. But then it also claims that the earth is flat. And we know that that's not true. So, just because there's a little bit of overlap and stuff, that's not a good enough reason to believe it. I think you should go look into things that will actually give you more answers, and address some of these curiosities and mysteries, and also get comfortable with, I don't know. Because I think you can be where you're at and say, wow, this stuff is so interesting and I want to read about it and learn about it. But at the end of the day, I just don't know. To me, that feels more honest than saying, I believe in this higher power. I mean, if you believe in it, then you do. But I can't hold that belief because I don't have a good reason to. And so far, I haven't really heard that you have a good reason to, other than, there's cool stuff in the world that we don't really know a lot about, which I agree with you on that. I just wouldn't call it a higher power,
I feel you.
Richard,
I respect that.
Someone in the chat also had put the word pantheism in there. I hope I'm pronouncing that the right way. And said that maybe that might be what you're identifying with, which is the philosophical and religious belief that the universe, nature, and reality are identical to a supreme entity or divinity. Pantheists also believe that the universe is divine and should be treated as sacred. It kind of sounds like that's what you're describing.
And I'm going to tell you, I called myself a pantheist for about a week, because that's kind of what I was thinking. And then I was like, why am I developing this entire belief system or belief and changing the word, changing saying I believe in this God or higher power or being, instead of just calling it what it is. It's the universe and its mysteries and things that I don't know. And I just think that leaves room for more, because what I get concerned about is when you're believing something for not a good reason, then you're susceptible to believing other things for not good reasons.
I agree. Thank you.
Love that. Thanks so much for calling in, Richard.
Thank you, Richard. Have a good night.
Y'all too. Y'all very smart.
Oh, thanks,
you.
Richard. I believe you are too. Go read about quantum science and you'll learn way more than I know about anything. Bye, Richard.
Thank you, ladies.
Bye.
I have been on the worst show of my life on Sunday with the worst theists I have ever spoken to. And now we just have the most delightful, I forget, I love it here, guys.
I know. Our show, for some reason, it's like, have you ever seen the memes where they'll play metal music and then fairy light baby pop music and then metal music, and it's going back and forth? I feel like that's the difference between the Sunday show and our show. The
Truly.
Sunday show is
sometimes. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sometimes the Sunday show is pretty good. Forrest and I have had a couple shows lately that were decent, but then there's always some callers that are just Dirk calling about beaver aliens and stuff, and that's just really intense and getting yelled at and stuff. But you're right. Here it's. I feel like I brace myself every time, and we do have some every now and then.
Occasionally. Yeah. It's
these
the
guys have been a
Sunday
delight.
show. Yeah, the Sunday show is Slipknot, and this show is Spice Girls. That's where we're at.
I love that. That's a great way to. And you know what? Sometimes you need some Slipknot in your life, for sure. And I love that, and that's why I keep coming back on Sundays, and it's a great time.
Exactly. Who among us would deny Slipknot?
Yeah, but also, what will I absolutely never ever deny? A Spice Girls song that comes on, and the radio is getting turned up 100% every single time. Slipknot, that's getting turned up like, every other time. So
yeah, when the mood strikes.
not to say we're the best show on the line, but we are the best show on the line. So,
You said it, not me.
On that note, shall we move on to another caller?
Yes, we actually had another theist just hop on the line.
Oh no. Let's see how this. I knew that I was gonna say all these nice things, and then there's a chance it all goes downhill. But maybe this will also be a delightful call.
You never know. You never know.
You never know. Let's talk to Jamal. Hey Jamal, you are on the line with Promise and Alyssa.
Hello.
Hi, Jamal.
Hey there. What do you want to talk to us about tonight?
Yeah, well, I have a question. I'd like to find out, why you believe that there is no evidence for a God.
I don't know that I would word it that way. There isn't evidence for a God. We're waiting on that. That's why we have this entire network. And so I don't believe things unless I have a good reason to, and I don't see any good reason to believe that there are any gods. So I don't hold any active beliefs in any gods. Alyssa, I don't know. I don't want to answer for you, but.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen any substantial evidence either.
So what do you classify as evidence, if I may ask?
I don't know. I would have to be shown the evidence, something that would be convincing. If the claim is for an all-knowing, all-powerful God, then I have to assume that God is capable of providing that evidence and just doesn't want to, or else they would have.
Okay, so you don't think the universe is the evidence of that?
I don't.
No.
I think the universe is evidence of itself, and that's it.
But isn't the universe contingent?
Contingent on what?
Because the universe, as we observe, it began to exist.
We don't know that it began to exist, first of all. There's only a certain point that we know. And other than that, we don't know.
So what does the evidence entail then?
What does what?
About the universe existence.
Sorry, can you repeat your question?
No, the existence of the universe. So far, the evidence shows it began at one point. It haven't always existed.
Nope, we don't have evidence of that. We don't know. We have evidence of a certain part. What we do have evidence for is that it's been expanding. We don't know anything other than that. That's one of the mysteries.
So what about the second law of thermodynamics?
What about it?
Is the Big Bang. Is mathematics. It shows that the universe isn't eternal and haven't always existed.
It doesn't show that because science does not. That's not the conclusion we've reached. We don't have a conclusion for if there even is a beginning of the universe. We do not know.
Okay, so let's say the universe is eternal, right? Let's say it has always existed. So let's say the universe is eternal and have always existed, right?
I'm sorry, I can't. Alyssa, do you know what he was saying?
Are you saying you're saying the universe has or has not always existed?
Let's say it has always existed, right?
I have no idea. I don't know where or if the universe came from anywhere. I don't know. We know a little bit up to a certain point, and then we don't know anything about before, if there was a before, anything like that. The answer is going to keep being, we don't know.
I think we know because there's only 4 logical explanations about how the universe came about.
How do you know that there's
Can I
only four?
explain them
How
to
do
you?
you how do you know?
Four
No, first
logical
let's
explanations.
let's get to this part. How do you know that there are only 4 options and not infinity amount of options?
No, I said 4 logical options.
How do you know that there's only 4 logical options? How have you ruled out infinity amount of other options?
Because I will name them. I will name them for you, right? So the first one is that the universe came
So
from
Jamal,
nothing.
I'd
That's the
really
first
like
one.
for you to answer my question. How did you reach the conclusion that there are only 4 options and not infinity amount of other options that you couldn't even think of?
Because there can't be using logic. There can't be more than 4.
What logic did you use to reach the conclusion that there's only 4?
Well, can I explain the 4 to you?
If you can do it quickly.
Okay, so the first one is the universe came from nothing. That's the first one.
How
The
would
second
something come from
explanation-
nothing? Real quick, Jamal,
No,
I
I'm-
already disagree with this. How would something come from nothing?
You're not listening. I'm just
I am listening
laying
and
out
I
the
just
4
asked you a question.
explanations, but
Cool. Well, then I'm
I'm
just
not
going to
saying
ask
it
you this
came from
question
nothing.
as soon as you say the 4, I'm going to go back to this question, but I'll give you time to think about it. All right. So the first one is
Yes,
the universe
okay.
came from nothing. Next.
Yes. All right, the second one, the universe was created by something created.
Okay.
Something created the universe.
No, the universe was created by something else created. That's the second one.
Okay.
Okay.
You following? All right, the third one,
Yes.
the universe created itself.
Okay.
You following? The fourth one, the universe was created by something uncreated. So which out of those 4 is the most rational conclusion?
No. Which one is true out of those 4? If you have to pick one, because also I don't agree that these are the only options. I have no idea what the option
So can
is.
you name another
because-
option?
No, I just don't know what happened. I don't know where the universe came from or if it came from anything. I don't know if this is a simulation, Jamal. I don't know if this is a simulation. I do not know. We don't know. We collectively as a society do not know where the universe came from. And so sitting here and saying, well, which one do I think has no value to me?
This is not
I
a
care what
scientific
science
question,
tells
though.
us. I care what science tells us about where this universe came from, and that is the only thing that will get me to believe something, not somebody sitting here saying, well, to me it makes sense, somebody created it, and this is why.
This isn't a scientific question, though. So
It's about
philosophical
truth.
one. So it transcends
for
science.
us.
So Jamal,
For
what's
us-
wrong with the answer of I don't know? What's wrong with being honest and saying we do not know?
I can't accept that because you do know. That's the point. You do know.
I do not
We
know,
don't.
Jamal. I literally don't know. And if you're just going to call and accuse us of lying, then we don't even need to have a conversation. I genuinely
Okay.
not know. And you don't know either.
So let's start with the first explanation. Can something come from nothing? Do you know that or no?
Can something come from nothing? Define
Yeah.
nothing.
Nothing as in absolute nothingness, the absence of everything.
You can't use the word
Complete absence
in the
is
definition
everything.
for the word. How would you, complete absence of everything? Then how can you have something?
Yeah.
None of this is making sense and it's circular reasoning.
No, I'm asking a question. If can something come from nothing? From absolute
I don't know.
nothingness.
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know, because if the universe did come from nothingness, how would I know?
It's logically impossible for something to come from nothing.
We don't
do
really
not
even understand
know,
what you
because
mean by nothing.
I don't know about nothingness, and I don't.
The
As soon as you start
absence
defining
of
it,
everything.
Also, Jamal, I also
that's
am
a positive claim.
curious too, because here's the thing, like when why is it that when we have a situation that is so hard to explain, we use something that is a higher power until we have a better explanation? So for
No,
a
we
period of
don't. We
time,
are still.
there were many things that we described as being the work of a higher power, when in reality, now that we have the ability to explain, we have a better understanding. And so we can actually, like, the sun coming up and going down every day could have been explained as a god making that happen, and now we know that the earth rotates and the sun also moves. And so because of the way that our planets interact with each other, we have days, we have daytime and we have nighttime and we have seasons, and now we understand. But before this,
I understand you.
So when we're
but
having this
those
conversation about how the universe is created, I'm wondering why we can't have some curiosity around how this is one of the questions that is still a mystery for us, and it also is the thing that you're using to try and convince me that there is a higher power. We've seen this happen so many times over and over again, where many times when this happens, if we give it some time and we give it some science and some effort, at some point we do figure it out. So why can we not have the answer be, this is just something that we're not sure about yet, versus this is a higher power? Do you know what I'm saying?
Because science only studies the physical world. That's all science do. Science only answers the how question.
Because that's all we know exists,
question.
Jamal. That's all we have evidence of existing are things that we can measure and test.
Okay,
the observable universe. It's that's all we can know is even a thing. That's the whole point.
So you're saying, so if something cannot be detected by science, it don't exist, right?
I do not know. But to me, it doesn't, because if science isn't detecting something, if it cannot detect it, then it has no relation to reality.
Okay, so do you believe dark matter exists?
Let me just ask you this real quick, Jamal, to save us all time. Is the God that you believe in, is that God detectable at all?
No, he's not detectable.
Okay, then I'm just genuinely not interested in this, because a God that is undetectable, then I can just tell you there's a pink unicorn that's invisible and undetectable, and that's my God. And what's your evidence against that?
What's my evidence against that?
Yes, what's your evidence against my pink, invisible, undetectable unicorn God?
Well, first...
And it says that your God doesn't exist, by the way, so...
Well, first, a pink unicorn is dependent.
Dependent on what?
It's a unicorn, and it's pink.
But it's invisible, and it's undetectable. And it says there are no other gods.
Well, the definition of God is to be independent, and a pink unicorn is dependent.
No. This one's a God. It's not dependent. It's not dependent on anything. It's invisible. It's undetectable. I just happen to know that it's pink and it's a unicorn because it told me that. But it's a God, and it's undetectable. And it is the only God. Any other God is a false claim, according to Pink Unicorn.
Is it still a pink unicorn?
It's a God, and it's kind of hard to explain. It's a mysterious thing.
No,
but
well,
it
the
is.
definition
It's all
of
of those
God
things.
is to be independent.
It's a God. It is what it is. It exists, but it's undetectable and it's invisible. So how are you going to tell me that doesn't exist?
Okay. But isn't dark matter and your consciousness also undetectable and invisible?
I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I don't know anything about dark matter.
And again, just because something is unexplainable in my language, like I can't explain dark matter to you, does not mean that God exists.
No,
that's a huge jump.
I'm just interested in how you so easily dismissed my God claim.
Because it's not a God claim.
It is
We
a
don't
God claim.
arrive to
It's
God by
it's a
just
God.
claiming anything.
That's what you're doing. That's my whole
No,
point.
that's not
You're
what
just
I'm
saying that
doing.
so if it's undetectable, how did you detect this God?
You cannot detect God.
Then why are you believing it? What is your reason if it's not detectable?
The same way I believe consciousness and dark matter exist. We know they exist because of their effects.
I'm not
And
sure
the
that
effect of God is the What?
What
wait,
effects
so
are you talking about?
Also consciousness, I'm not sure that I need to look this up about the scientific term. I'm not sure that we say consciousness exists. We experience consciousness. It's a term we use to describe something that we're still learning a lot about.
Yeah, because you cannot put consciousness in a lab and run tests on it because it's immaterial.
Did you even hear anything I just said?
What you said?
I don't feel like you're listening to us, Jamal. I feel like you're going with some kind of script because you've just dismissed so many things I've said. I just said something else that was a point that was very relevant to what we're talking about here, and then you moved on to something else.
I'm sorry, can you repeat what you said?
If you're not going to be listening, I'm not really interested in repeating myself anymore either. If Alyssa has more questions for you, she can go for it. I just don't feel like we're getting an honest conversation here.
Okay.
I mean, I think, Jamal, if you want to give one last point on why you believe that there is a God, even though we cannot detect it, and like why we should believe that there is one though we can't detect it. One last plea, I suppose.
I believe there's a God because observing the universe and its characteristics points to there being a creator.
What about
not
it
just any
points
creator.
to?
It points to
What
being
about
an
it points to a
independent.
creator?
Simply because of the continuity argument. You ever heard of it?
Of the which argument? Contingency?
Contingency, yes.
Yep.
Okay, so
I'm
the
still
universe.
listening if you want to continue going.
Okay, so everything we observe in the universe is dependent.
On what?
And if we trace it back,
You're just starting with claims.
okay, you want me to explain what dependent means?
I'm well aware of what it means. But Alyssa
dependent. Yeah, like I'm confused about what you mean that everything in the universe is dependent on what? Is it dependent on a higher power? Is that what you're saying? Or
No,
dependent on each other?
I'm saying the characteristics of universe is dependent. Everything within it is dependent. So it's either
What is your
dependent
evidence
on
of
something
that?
else. What you said?
What is your evidence that the universe is dependent on there being a creator? You're making this whole argument to me just sounds like a basic presupposition.
I'm not saying it's dependent on the creator. I'm just saying the universe is dependent. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's dependent on a creator or not. Let's take it one point at a time. Okay?
I don't really understand what you mean by dependent. I don't know, Eve, do you understand the way he's using dependent in a way that
it depends on something else with existence. So like you and me, you and I depend on
yes, we
a lot of things
understand that.
for
We're trying to understand how you're getting from that to a God.
Yeah, to a God claim. Like, because my life was created by my parents having sex and then my mother carrying me, like dependent, I guess. Yeah, like life doesn't like.
Forrest explained. Sorry, Alyssa, you keep going.
No, go ahead.
Is
I'm
that-
kind of
I just need to.
losing my
I need you to
train.
get to your. Yeah, I need you to get to your next part because okay, you've made your claims. Now what? Now how did you get from that to God?
Okay, so if the universe is dependent, right? It could be
Can you
dependent on
continue
something
going?
else.
Depending on something
I'm
else,
trying to
it
get
could
to my
be.
claim.
Mm-hmm.
All right, it could be dependent on something else dependent. So let's say another universe created this universe. Okay?
Why are we saying that? We don't know. We have no idea.
Oh, God. Well, let's just say, all right, matter, right? Any piece of matter, let's say, created this universe, right?
I don't know. I don't
okay with
know
that?
if what I do. No, I don't know. I have no idea how this universe came to exist.
What's the opposite of matter? Immaterial,
I
right?
don't. I don't know that there
Immaterial.
is an opposite. Jamal, you're continuing to just go through all these different things, and the answer is going to be
Oh,
every
God.
single time, I do not know where this universe came from, and neither do you. You are speculating, and that's fine. You can speculate all you want. I don't think you have good reason to reach a conclusion, which is why nobody's won a Nobel Peace Prize or whatever award they would win for discovering where the universe came from or if it even came from anywhere, because we do not know.
You're not understanding.
I would
I'm
like to
understanding your
actually.
claim.
I would actually like to see, like, I don't know. I want to be like mindful of time, but I'm curious where you were gonna go with that. Like the opposite. You're telling me the opposite of matter is antimatter, or what?
No. All right.
What's the opposite? What's the path that you were gonna take us on? I'm curious. I want to hear where you were going with this.
Yeah. So matter, right? That's the only physical thing about this universe. So the opposite of matter is immaterial.
Okay.
Okay. So that's why I said, because I know you don't believe in the immaterial, so that's why I said matter is like the drawing line for everything. Material wise, you understand where I'm coming from?
I guess so. Keep going.
Okay, so
I do want to point
back to
out,
the
just
song.
for anybody listening, that the opposite of matter is antimatter, not immaterial. But continue.
Okay. All right, so let's say the universe depends on something material again. Material is something that's dependent, right? So let's say it depends on something material if it's existence.
But Jamal, you're making claim
well,
after claim, and you're not providing evidence for any of this. You're saying, let's say this, let's say that. Okay, what does that tell us about reality? We can play mind games all day and say, what if, what if, what if? It gets us nowhere other than speculation. It's all of this is hinging on massive presuppositions. That's all I'm hearing each time is a presupposition. And you're saying, right? And no, I don't agree. I don't agree to each of your presuppositions.
You want me to prove that the universe is contingent?
You can't.
Oh, I can't.
Do you have evidence that the universe is contingent?
Okay, so let's define what contingent means, right?
Do you have evidence that the universe is contingent?
Yes, I do.
What is it?
First, the universe is made up of matter Can you hear me?
We can.
Yes.
This will go faster if you just present your arguments. Instead of pausing and saying, right, 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 just say what it is that your claim is, and then we'll chime in.
Jamal.
Jamal, your phone is probably asleep.
You have to tap your screen. We might have lost him.
That's okay.
Jamal. Okay. Well, if Jamal wants to call back and talk to Forrest on the Sunday show, I think that would be a great idea, because I heard a lot of things said where I'm not even remotely close to being a scientist that I already know don't fit into that world. And I don't know what Jamal does for a living, but I would venture to say it's probably not related to that realm of science. But all of that was just a presupposition. Everything was dependent on, right? Like, it's this, right? It's this. No,
Right.
I can't do any of this. We just don't know. That's my big frustration is, and the difference between that caller and these other callers is, and that caller's fine, but we have somebody calling in with a, like, it has to be this way and I'm going to show you, as opposed to a theist calling in and like, this is what I think, this is what I believe, this is why. And then we have these excellent conversations because they can be honest and say, yeah, I don't even know if this is a good reason, or I think it's a good reason, but it's probably not a good reason for somebody else. That's the difference to me between somebody who really believes something because they believe it and somebody who believes something because it's part of this dogma that they have, and then they have to prove it to the point that they'll just make up precepts and stick to a script and get frustrated when they're told to get off of the script, you know?
Right.
Anyways,
Right.
sorry.
No, don't be. I think you voiced a lot of the things that people in the chat are feeling as well.
That's good. I feel like I would love the chat if I knew how to pay attention to chat while doing the show.
My ADHD makes me uniquely qualified for that. But the chat is also loving that Bonnie is snoring so much. So I'll show you guys where Bonnie is right now. Like, she looks so comfy. Oh, wait. I don't hear you.
I mean, because I freaking muted myself like I do all the time. It's so embarrassing. For super chats, should I have my husband bring up my two dogs? I'm house sitting and the dogs are here, but one of them actually has been my dog, and then my parents have become full-time dog parents.
I don't think
and one of them is named Bonnie.
Dogs.
You haven't, I don't think. Okay, when we do super chats, I'll ask him to bring them up here. Maybe he'll even wave and say hi to everybody too. Okay, do you want to pick our next caller? Yes, look at that little angel.
Yeah, that's a good one. See, I told you guys, it's not me farting, it's her snoring.
That's really good.
Anyway, okay.
Do you want to pick our next caller?
See. We have more theists. This is exciting. This never happens to us, I feel like.
Make sure you interrupt me, Alyssa, when you want to say something. I get to where I just start going. So just do it.
I honestly, every time you're talking, I'm sort of mesmerized. So I'm like listening and enjoying my time. And I also am like in the chat and like yapping it up with everyone in here.
I love it. Well, chime in anytime.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, there are two theist callers. One seems similar to what we were talking about attempting to talk about with Jamal, and one is very different. So I don't know. Which do you think?
Well, I need to make sure that the one that's calling in about Mormonism knows that this is not a platform to just come and preach and proselytize. You can tell me briefly what God you believe in and briefly why, but if it turns into preaching and all of that, like, go make your own platform. That's not how this is going to go. But as long as they've heard that, I just feel like that's not going to go that way. Maybe let's go ahead and talk to Guy, I think is how we say that, or maybe it's G. Hey there, you are live with Promise and Alyssa. How do we pronounce your name?
It's G.
G. Hey, G.
Gee, nice to meet you.
Hey, y'all. So,
What would you
I
like to
don't
share
know,
with us today?
yeah, so I basically was just called because I just got y'all YouTube like yesterday, and I was watching it, and I seen y'all again right now live, so I joined just to be like, you know, like I was just y'all basically already answered what I was really wondering with Jamal, but it's like I just wanted to see like what y'all think about like certain questions, like, you know, like what y'all think, we got a soul or we have no soul? Like, what do y'all think about that?
I won't speak for is an actual thing that exists. So that would be my take.
Right. Yeah, I
I
believe that too.
feel
So are y'all? Go ahead.
I feel like it's weird because with things like this, the response that I have, the natural response I have is like, and I don't mean this in like a combative way. I kind of don't care. You know what I mean? It's like it doesn't like affect me one way or another. So I don't even really have like much of an opinion, but I also resonate with like when you describe when you have like a really deep connection with someone and you're like, I feel like a soul connection with you. It's like, to me, it feels more like a descriptor than it is like a physical thing. It's like, that's a way to describe like depth of connection with someone in a very like, in a different way than just saying, I feel deeply connected to you. It's like, oh, okay. As a human, I understand what you're talking about, even though I don't necessarily think that there's like this magical, glowy, sparkly orb that gets like carried on from like being to whatever. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, you know, when I called, I told them I was agnostic, and they was like, oh, well, you tend to lean on there is or there isn't. I said there is because like just the question of like how does nothing like how we here we weren't created, you know? And so that's my second question for y'all, because I just met y'all. Are y'all atheists or agnostic?
So
Atheist.
I would technically say I'm agnostic atheist, meaning I think that most God claims and the general God claim is unfalsifiable. I don't think we can know, but I don't believe any of it because of that. I only believe things that I have good reason. In that case, it's not even really believing. It's just like I know that that's a thing.
Right.
There's very few things in my life that I'm willing to believe when I don't even know if I have very good reason to, and when I like decide to err on the side of trusting something. But for an entire God claim, I need to have like a really good reason to believe that's even remotely possible. And I don't know. I don't know that it is, and nobody's been able to convince me that it is. So that's where I stand.
Right. I'm kind of with you. Like I feel like nobody knows, so we all agnostic for real. And the people that claim they know, kind of weird, you know. But
yeah, I fully agree that we're all agnostic.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, my other question. So it's not a question. It's more like why I say I believe it could be something, like, even though we don't know, because I've had some crazy shit happen to me, like that's been like showing me. Well, what do y'all think of like synchronicities and stuff like that, and certain coincidences? What y'all think about that?
I think it's cool when there is a coincidence. I don't have reason to believe that there's any kind of conscious power or anything behind that.
Right.
I just think it's interesting when that happens.
Right.
There's also I've learned more and more about it. So, for example, I have a favorite number, and I see it all the time because I'm looking for it subconsciously. And that's really cool to me. It's a cute thing about the human brain that it does that. It's not actually a sign that because I saw that number, that's the right thing to be doing, because then that implies that there's like something that set that up for me in order to know, you know what I mean? And like I had to recognize the number or whatever. And that could be a really dangerous route to take, to say like, yeah, but I think there's something there. And then I take this number now as a sign that I should do this thing. And maybe I should have just asked myself, using like logic, is this a good idea? Should I do this thing or not? And instead I've left it up to chance, you know? So that's my problem with being superstitious about things. I have a good reason to. Because I guess my question for you would be, like, I also have experienced all kinds of weird, crazy things. And it's, I look at it and I go, oh, that's so cool. I love that. That's so interesting.
Right.
But what do you feel like you need to take it to another level of, that's so interesting, therefore, or that's so interesting,
No, my thing
and
is,
probably, you know?
no, my thing is like, that's so interesting. And like, well, this is how I put it. And I tell everybody this. Like, when I tell people, oh, man, it's so crazy, this is how I feel. It's like, if you're just sitting there chilling, watching TV or eating, you get a phone call. Let's say it's the, this is how I feel sometimes. Oh, it's a phone call and it's from God, it's from the universe, it's from the source. And I'm like, oh, wow, hello? And right when I say hello, after I say it, nothing is, you know what I'm saying, the universe or God doesn't say nothing. I feel like that's how all these, like, crazy shit that's happened, my fault, I'm cussing, my bad, crazy stuff that's happened to me leads me to a point where I'm just like what the fuck, or sorry, what was that for, you know?
You totally can cuss, by the way. That's fine. I mean, we appreciate when it's not directed at us, but we are colorful with our language as well. So all good. I think it's totally normal to look at something and be like, whoa, that's crazy. For example, I had a friend that I was estranged from and hadn't seen her in years. And I was sitting there thinking about her, and all of a sudden she texted me, and it was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. But also, how many times had I been sitting there before thinking about her and I didn't get a text, you know? So it's cool. What were the odds that the first time she reached out in a while, it probably lower odds, and that is cool. But that's just interesting mathematically and statistically more than evidence of anything else. There's actually a really cool book I would recommend that one of our hosts here on the line, Matt Delahunty, recommended to me. I think it's called, oh man, hang on, I'm going to look this up. All right. Because I think you would like it. Alyssa, if you have any questions while I look this up, but
I don't necessarily have questions, but I also think there's something interesting that people who are theists do, where so much of things that are like things like coincidences or like I was having this conversation with someone this weekend about like miracles, and it almost is like discrediting like the wonder of chance. It's like, why is it more fun to say when I'm thinking about my friend and they randomly call that, oh, God put this person on the phone, like God did this, versus being like, oh, this is so cool. Like, how did that happen? To me, it's almost like we're discrediting the experience by like saying that it was a higher power. It's like, no, don't give them the credit. Like, this is just a cool thing that happened. And that to me is so much more fun and so much more interesting and like honest. Yeah, and honest. And it's also just like, there are so many surprises that will just always happen in life. And that to me is more intriguing and more exciting than saying that someone is like playing marionette, you know? So I do think it's interesting when like, even like with miracles, it's like things that are alleged miracles. Many times it's like if someone is going through a procedure and it seems like they're not going to make it, and then they do, it's like, wow, well, I'm so grateful for the doctors who spent hours operating on that person and for this person's body for being able to, you know, respond the way that it was supposed to. That's so great. Like, that's amazing. Why are we giving the credit to this higher power who then will also turn around and make a child so sick that they pass before they've even been able to experience life. It's like, why are you giving that guy all the credit for things that are either cool because they're just a coincidence and like in like the way that life works, like things just kind of happen and that's cool and that's awesome, or things that human beings did, like we did that, like we created, you know, medical procedures to save people's lives and whatever. Like, why are we calling that a miracle? It's hard work, you know, it's hard work and achievements and commitment, and we did that. Like, credit where credit is due, and like we're giving that guy all the credit. Why?
Exactly. Right.
I want to let you. I want to let you chime in on everything. I'll tell you the name of this book, and then I'd love to hear any closing thoughts you have. But real quick, the book is called Innumerancy by John Allen Paulos, and I really think you would like it. It's super cool. It's I hate math, and it was still interesting to me. But it's a small book. Anyways, but yeah, what were you going to say? What are your thoughts here?
I kind of just like probably like in the same boat of like, I don't believe in no Jesus, no Buddha, no Allah, because like I feel like when people say that they know that, it's kind of like you just said, or no, not what you just said, but what I said earlier, like nobody really knows what's kind of a little cuckoo for real to me. But it's like for me, it's just like, I don't know, like I guess I don't have nothing else to say for it. I'm just still. Nothing changed. I still don't know. So it's like,
That's a great place to be. I think that's really honest to say, I don't know. And to hold out for when we do know something. So I love that. I appreciate it. Thanks so much for calling, G. You're welcome to call back anytime.
Thanks, G.
All right. Thank you.
Have a great night.
It.
Bye-bye. All these honest,
lovely
theists, and I guess G wasn't even really, G's holding space for whatever we don't know, which is that we don't know. So I love it. We've got several calls to get through. Do you have time for us to get through all of them real quick if we go fairly fast? Okay, let's talk to James real quick. I think this might be a shorter call, but we'll see. Hey, James, you are on with Promise and Alyssa. What did you want to talk to us about today? James, you might need to tap your phone if you're calling from the web. Hello, James. This might be a really short call. I'll give it a couple more seconds. Nope. Okay. Well, we tried. That was the call. Going to be about Mormonism and how it's bringing joy and happiness to the world, which
I know. I was looking forward to that.
I would love for them to call when I don't know if Jimmy's going to be on the show anytime soon, but Jimmy would love to hear that call, I'm sure.
I would love to hear about joy and peace in the world.
Right?
Dang.
Maybe next time. Let's talk to Joe. We love Joe in Australia. And Joe's been holding for so long. Let's see. Hey there, Joe. How are you?
Hey, Joe.
Good. Hello. Been a while. I think the last time we talked was
it's so nice to hear your voice.
I think the last time we talked was before Promise was actually going as Promise on the show.
I've got a whole new name since then.
Happy New Year, Joe.
Yeah. Same to you. So, again, because it's been a while, going back to an old conversation about the male loneliness epidemic, I remember, Alyssa, you said that compassion was either like a solution or like a way forward to dealing with that. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah, I think that's going to lead us to more success than something like to the effect of the 4B movement, that kind of thing, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I somewhat agree, but I disagree on, I don't think necessarily it's on women to show compassion necessarily to get through this. I think what, not to say that like women should be like rejecting these people and that sort of thing, like having respect for people who are learning, unlearning things is important, but I wouldn't go so far as like active compassion of like having to getting women to have to put the work in so much to deconvert or however you want to word it. And the main two reasons why I think that is one, the right-leaning and alt-right teach men not to listen to women, so I don't think it will be very effective. Like it'll be harder for a woman to convince the man to change their mind than another man, for example. Unfortunately. And the other thing is I've noticed through some of my own working with an organization, I won't necessarily name drop, that it has what made this particular organization really effective, and they are tackling the male loneliness epidemic, is what they're doing is they're approaching it from a point of something that men in particular experience a lot, and that is, I don't know if YouTube is good with this, but suicide, or I can refer to it as loss, if that's better, because that does affect a lot of men. And what this organization does, which I think is really effective, is it gets the men to start talking about their feelings with other men, using the suicide prevention angle as like a motivator for that. And I've just noticed that there's been a lot of change in these men, and like I'm seeing these like really bloke men like openly crying and expressing their feelings, and I think if we can get men to start getting in touch with their emotions and then developing empathy for people, that will both allow them to connect to people better so they're not feeling as lonely, and also ultimately I think it will lead to men being more empathetic towards women, and therefore, even though the main goal necessarily isn't to get them to left-leaning, but generally speaking, left-leaning people are more empathetic than right-leaning people. So I think or at least I think that's one of the more effective ways to deal with this problem.
Yeah, I agree. And I think you're right that many of the men who are, especially the ones at like the heart of this, like the real like shitbag men, sorry, pardon my, they are the ones that are not going to listen to women anyway. I think that and I've had this struggle a lot, especially in like the comments of my Instagrams or whatever, when people are in there just saying disgusting things to me. Like, I'll give you an example of conversations that I have all the time. I'll make content that's about just like sexual wellness, information about sexuality, whatever. And I'll get a comment and it'll be like, maybe if you stop fucking, sorry, I need to like relax on the cursing because I'm scared that YouTube is going to censor us. Maybe if you stop effing men who are not attracted to you, then you wouldn't be such a WHORE. I get comments like that.
Yeah.
And if I respond and I say to them, I'm really sorry that you feel that way. And like, if I'm trying to like show vulnerability, I've literally had this many times, and I try and gentle parent men in my comments all the time. If I responded, I'm like, I am so sorry you feel that way. And I would love for you to open up about why you feel so so affected by this? Like, why this, whatever this content is, why this really gave you a strong reaction? And they will repeatedly respond to me and be like, I don't have a strong reaction, you bitch. Like, it's just, it falls on deaf ears. So I agree with you that like when there are men that are like in that space, it actually doesn't matter what I say or how much compassion or vulnerability I'm willing to share with them, because they are not hearing it. And I think you're right that it's going to be other men having, like, leading by example and showing that behavior is going to lead to results, meaning like successful relationships with women in a way that they're going to be seeking. That's where I think that like the success is going to be. And it's hard because I don't think that there is value in shutting men out completely. It's sort of like if many times in like high school or whatever, I mean, even when there's someone who doesn't like you, I always give the advice of don't give them more to talk about. Like, at the end of the day, they already have made a decision about you. Don't give them anything else to go back to their friends and be like, see, I was right. She is a bitch, blah, blah, blah. And that's where I feel like we run into like a little bit of a crossroads where I don't want the like a very rightfully angry response to create this like confirmation bias for all of these men. And when I think about people who made massive, massive changes, like Martin Luther King is a good example, because he had a vision for the world that he wanted to create and wanted to bring that vision into a space that he knew was actively not going to accept that and was going to respond in violence, and made a point to make that not his message over and over and over again. And he lost his life as a result. And he is a major change maker and a big motivator in how we did eventually experience change. It's the same thing with like Rosa Parks. Like, these are people who, and there are plenty of examples who showed resistance with other methods like that are, I wouldn't say violent, but are resistance different than the way that they went about it. And I think that there is probably some whitewashing of history to make it so that the stories that we recall first are the ones that are peaceful, Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks. I think that that's purposeful. Yeah. But they do have a purpose and a function in the way that the world eventually changed. So I don't have like the answer, but I love what you were describing. And actually, what was the name of the group that you were talking about?
It's sadly only a Australian-based organization. They're called Talk to Me, Bro, which sounds like the most low-keyest name ever. But it's
that's what these people need. That's what they need.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's the whole.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
It's just like the whole organization is just like a bunch of blokey blokes saying, hey, let's talk about our feelings. And they're talking about like how that they've lost friends because their friends didn't feel comfortable talking about their feelings. And so they're giving real life examples of why you need to talk about your feelings. And then, they're just going around spreading that message. And I think it is really effective, but it's also, for me personally, who grew up being told that I was a guy and that like men don't cry and don't do all these things. It's really therapeutic to see these men who you would think that they shouldn't cry, or at least the message is that they shouldn't cry, and they're just openly crying, and nobody is judging them for it.
I think.
For sure. there's if you're familiar with Brene Brown, she talks about vulnerability a lot, and one of the things that she talks about that I bring up all the time is there's no act of courage that doesn't require vulnerability. Like even when you're doing something like you are serving in a war, you are putting yourself in a vulnerable situation to demonstrate to have this act of what is ultimately courage. Those things are hand in hand. And unfortunately, we have created this like really big separation between the two when in reality they're kind of they're the same thing.
Exactly. And it's also like
I love
like what one of the like really like touching moments for me is there are little kids around, but they're not like the main focus. And I remember seeing like this little boy just like went to the toilet off, and his father started crying in like the work that was being done. And when the little boy came back, one of the like volunteers was like, "Hey, you know, it'd be great if you went up to your dad and just give him a hug because he looks like he needs one." And just seeing that occur and like knowing that it's not just our current generation that's being changed because of these results, but also the kids are learning different lessons as well was really touching.
Yeah. It's like making me emotional because like that's a world that works. Like that is a world that works. Like the one that the way that we're doing it right now, it is not fucking working. It's not working. So like no matter how much we want to say, fuck the men, I'm done, I've hit my limit, like fine, I guess say that, but we're not creating a world that works. And when we do things like this and we give them space to find vulnerability and show that that's safe and then teach that to younger generations, that's a world that works. So I'm so glad you shared this. And I know you said this is just in Australia, but I know so many people here that are looking for like this type of thing. And if they ever, I'll reach out to them and I'll see if they ever want to like create a version of this in the US, then this gets to be something that we bring over here. Because if it's working for the community there, then I would love to see that. Like if this is a format that's working, then fuck it, let's bring it over because we so badly need it.
Yeah. And like, to be fair, I had a quick Google to see if there was any American organizations that do this sort of work. I couldn't find anything. But probably your best chances to find one is like any like suicide prevention organization that's focused on men. I found like an organization or two in the UK that have done that. So that's probably looking for those sort of organizations is where you're most likely to find an organization if it does exist. But yeah.
That's a good note. That's a really good direction to go in. I love that. Thank you so much, Joe.
Like all things that you call us about, Joe, I love how much nuance there is in this. And I think the main takeaway for me in regards to this whole conversation is there's a difference between my personal values as an individual human and how I like personally take in different issues in the world, like patriarchal societies and this whole like incel and male loneliness epidemic and all of that, and then like what I think of it on a like macro level. So for me, I don't like holding back compassion and empathy for people. That's one of my values. And so I feel that when I look at this issue in general, I really feel for men. right now they're going through this time where they've been taught that all they're good for are this, this, and this. And now we don't need you for those things anymore because we figured it out. I have my own bank account. I have my own credit line. I have my own career. I don't even need a man to have a family if I don't want to. So none of these things are needs anymore. And men are in this place now where it's like, now you got to figure out like, what are you here for? What are you doing? What's your role as a human? And that's tough for anybody going through. So I have compassion for that. When I hear about these men in Alyssa and I's comment sections behaving this way, on an individual level, I am that empathy and compassion takes on a new role of, hey, I'm going to set some boundaries and let you know how this behavior doesn't fly. And that's part of my compassion. So I think it just looks different from person to person, and also how I would treat an individual who came to me with some sort of issues and whatever he's got going on, and how I would respond to that, or even men that I have in my life now that will say some misogynistic or sexist things, and how I respond to that, it's very different from person to person. So I think that's the main thing for me, is that I have to view it compartmentalized and then step back and look at all of it as one whole. I know that sounds like it doesn't make any sense, and it probably doesn't, but for me, it's just so much nuance. And I also really agree with this idea that at the end of the day, men are going to need to find community with each other, and that's really important. Like that's what us humans like to do, is find, like, narrow down our communities more and more and more, so that we have these, special or safe communities. And that's how we learn. And that's where we find strength in all of this. And so I think that's so important. And that's why I agree. It's not on women to show up and be that person. Although in some men's life, it has been a woman come in and like changed, helped educate them on something or whatever. But community, I think, is this really important aspect, especially with the male loneliness epidemic. And I love that there's people that are actively looking to address that. And I hope that we have stuff like that happening here in the States too, because I think it's desperately needed. Anyways, all that to say, I loved all of that, and always appreciate you calling in, Joe.
All right.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
You're
Have
the
a good one.
best.
You
Have
too.
a good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We love Joe. We stand Joe.
We love Joe so much. We've got 2 callers to get through. I think we can just keep it short. And then we'll get to our super chats, and I'll have the doggies. So the doggies can have a little meet and greet amongst themselves.
A little moment.
A little moment.
Yeah.
Let's talk to Billy. Hello, Billy. You are on with Promise and Alyssa.
Hello. How are you guys?
Hi, Billy.
Doing well.
We're good.
How are you?
I'm doing well. I was making mac and cheese. I've been trying to call you the atheist section of the line for weeks.
Oh my gosh! Well, I'm glad you got through.
The atheists get usually least priority, unfortunately.
I can't even. Normally, I notice an hour late, and then I look at it, and I'm like, I can't get through the call.
Well, you got
thanks
through
for
today.
calling.
Yay!
Yes, perfect. I mean, I'd love listening to you guys, but essentially, I shouldn't be too long. I've missed it because you guys have a lot of videos on here, but I've never really heard you guys discuss agnosticism and whether or not, like I have no, I don't believe in any God, but I also don't not believe in. It's like when you said earlier about you can't disprove the pink unicorn God in the sky that created everything. Sorry, I'm very bad at conversations, so I might pause a lot.
No, you're fine. I get what you're asking.
Great.
But like that has just as much validity to me as like any form of organized religion. If anything, that has more validity to me because there's nothing to disprove in that comment of there's a pink unicorn God in the sky, because you can never disprove it technically, but you can also never prove it.
Right, because one of the facts about it is that it's undetectable. So, but I would ask you, so to like compare this to agnosticism versus atheism and all of that. So you would say you would be agnostic toward that God claim? Is that correct? Like toward the
Pretty
unicorn?
much, I think so. I'm very bad at deciding what
Cool.
I think.
I would say that too. I would say I'm agnostic toward it, and I would say I don't believe it because I don't have a good reason to, and therefore I would be an atheist still. I would still not believe in any gods, even though I'm agnostic toward that God. I'm also atheistic toward it. I don't actively believe it because I don't have good reason to.
So you can be both.
Yeah, and I would argue, although who knows what kind of pushback I'll get because I haven't really put that much thought into this because to me it's just not so relevant. I would argue that you have to put that in front of anything. First of all, I would argue that everyone is agnostic. I think these God claims are unfalsifiable. So I would say we're all agnostic. I mean, the more specific we get with a claim, obviously, then we could be like, I'm actually Gnostic atheist toward that one. But generally, toward the general God claim, I would say that we're all agnostic. And then I would say somebody's either actively believing that there is a God, which would make them a theist, or they're not actively believing that there are any gods, and that would make them an atheist. That would be my argument.
Okay. That answers my question.
Nice.
That's pretty much what I always think. I had never heard you guys discuss agnosticism specifically, and I've always wanted to know what your opinions on it was. Like, because agnosticism doesn't necessarily have the logical fallacies of like religion. I would say it's I don't want to use the word better, but it's the only word I can think of right now. But like, less disprovable than when I'm hearing someone rant about how like things in the Bible are true.
Sure. Yeah. I think I would just argue that if somebody says I'm agnostic and then they don't say if they're theist or atheist, I would say that I'm not fully understanding their position. And maybe it still isn't technically theism or atheism. Although I tend to feel like if somebody's not actively believing something, then that just puts them in the category of also an atheist. So to me, I just want I want more than just agnostic or Gnostic. I want to know like the whole, like, are you believing in any gods or are you not? Or are you saying like, I don't really know, in which case to me that still sounds like not really a theist. So
would you consider it not necessarily a cop-out, but kind of like a cop-out?
Yeah, that's a great way to say it. Not really a cop-out, but kind of like one. I think that's fair. Yeah, to me it is kind of a like wishy-washy, and that's fine. I'm not putting any morality around that at all. If somebody's still figuring out where they're at. But I would just challenge them on that. It's like, are you actively believing this? Or are you not believing it? I feel like theists have made a push, an organized religion have made a push for atheism to be a thing like theism is. And the problem is, I don't agree with that. I think theism is an active thing, and I think atheism is being without theism. So it's just everybody else that doesn't fall into that category of actively believing in any gods. And atheism should, to me, I hate that we even have to have a word for it. Like that's just to me a default position of like, we're just not believing something. Like we don't have atheists for Bigfoot. Like we don't have a word for that. Like, I don't know what that would be. A Bigfoot, So to me, that's why I would push back on that. So like, where do you land as other than agnostic? Cause I'm agnostic too, but I'm also an atheist.
That makes my brain a little clearer. Because my problem is I can never decide on anything in life at all. And
well, the good news is you don't have to decide.
Yeah.
No, exactly. It's the concept of like the uninvolved God. How you can technically never disprove the uninvolved God, but you can disprove the involved God. And
sure. And that's why I wouldn't worry about the uninvolved ones, because if they're uninvolved and they're undetectable, then it's almost as if they don't even exist. And so then you just go on and live your life.
Yeah, I went to Catholic school. I was openly atheist in Catholic school. I would literally argue with my teacher. It was very funny.
Oh, that's rough.
That's bold of you.
You're brave. Yes, I love it.
Oh yeah, my senior year, I would write for my homework. I'm an atheist. I can't answer this question. And my teacher was actually very supportive. He would say, If it's a
Nice.
question you cannot answer, don't answer it. But if it is a question you
Wow.
can answer from your worldview, dude, I love that, man.
Wow.
That's awesome.
That's
I'm
progressive.
happy to hear that. Yeah. Well,
No,
Billy,
yeah, it
thanks
was
so much
very
for
not,
calling
I
in.
will say, he was one of the few teachers there that did that. I'm sorry, continue.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm sure he
you're
was in
fine,
the
you're fine.
minority,
Finish
but that's awesome.
this.
Yeah. Okie dokie. I'll let you guys get to the next caller. I want to eat my mac and cheese.
Awesome.
Oh,
Thanks so much
enjoy
for calling,
it.
Billy. You're welcome to call back anytime.
Thank you very much. You guys have a great night.
Good
You
night,
too.
Billy.
Bye-bye. We've got one last caller we can get through real quick, and then we'll get to our super chats of $5 or more.
Perfect.
Let's talk to. Oh, do you know how to say this
Siobhan.
name? I don't want to.
Siobhan.
How do you know that? You're just like, okay, love it.
Because I've seen that name before, and
Okay. Hi, sorry that I don't know how to say your name, and I'm so
It's
thankful
okay. It's
for Alyssa.
Irish, so yeah, it is. It's Siobhan.
Siobhan, that's beautiful.
Isn't it?
Thank you.
Well,
So,
what did
yeah,
you want
I'm
to
a
talk to us
polytheist
about?
Well, I mean, I've been doing a lot of research into different pantheons, I'd say, but and I was raised evangelical Pentecostal up in Canada.
Oof.
Right.
Were you
At the
around
age
for
of
the
10,
Toronto Blessing?
I was born in '75.
Yeah. Okay. So
I think
Toronto
so.
Blessing was this whole thing that evangelical Pentecostal people were into. I was just curious in case you were involved with any of that. Anyway, sorry. Continue. That was irrelevant.
But the thing is, I mean, I was raised Pentecostal, but at the age of 10, I lost my faith in the church, primarily because of the fact that an interaction I had in the woods actually made me think of it's like, no, that's not right. Because I follow more of a druid path, which is more living in harmony with nature and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, that's why I say I'm a agnostic, polytheistic, but it's more of a philosophy that I follow, not a religion.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that you genuinely believe that these gods exist within reality, or is it, like you said, more of like a lifestyle and like philosophy and almost like non-theistic Satanism?
You could say that, yeah.
Okay.
The more of the it's like they could exist, but there's no proof of them, so I can't defend them, so I can't also disprove them. So.
I appreciate the honesty.
Yeah. The thing is going back into the Mesopotamian and Sumerian religion, right? El, their father god, right? Because in those gods you had El, Asherah, Yahweh, Bel, El, and Yahweh is the name that the Jewish God took. Right, for their god. He was a war god, which explains why he has all these things about slavery and genocide. But, I mean, even when you look at the scripture, it said Elohim, which is plural for gods, or wise ones.
Yeah.
So,
but I'm interested in what your main thing you were calling in for was.
Oh, it's just the fact that most of the stuff that the Christians follow nowadays has been stolen from one pantheon or another. Quite literally.
Yeah.
There's a lot of discussion and debate surrounding that, because obviously there are some aspects that were literally just, Judaism carried on. My problem with people who want to just blanketly say like Christianity was just completely stolen, because we see a lot of religions take from each other and their gods feed off of each other and all this stuff. And you're absolutely right. The Old Testament talks about multiple gods. And so that's very true. I do think Christianity still has its uniqueness, just like a lot of these other religions do as well.
I mean,
but yeah, they all absolutely take stuff from each other.
I won't deny that. Right. I know that the Islamic faith accepts Jesus as one of the prophets of the Abrahamic faith, not
Sure.
Messiah.
Mhm.
So, but with the, Christmas. Let's put it on Saturnalia, just so we can convert these people. That was the other thing, is they did a lot of taking things in order to convert the pagans.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, there was
I've read
definitely a
about
lot of that.
before. Yeah, I've read about that
I'll
before.
tell you.
In like I've had this conversation with my parents before, and it like started as a joke, and then I and then I was like, oh, hold on a second, there's like a lot, like the Yule log and having a tree in your house and things, like all of these things that are just kind of like cultural traditions. And from what I remember, I believe during the oh my god, what is it called when it begins with an I, when they were in the 1400s, when they were going around and the Crusades, not an I. When they during the Crusades,
it's an I. It's the
is it an I?
Yeah, it's the oh shoot.
Yeah, what the hell is it? Crap.
Hey,
Okay.
Takamata, what do you say? I just came back from the other debate. The other debate was Inquisition.
Inquisition, that's the one. Thank you, Siobhan. During the and literally right as you said it, a million people in the chat are saying Inquisition because there's like a delay. It's so funny. Anyways, but yeah, during the Inquisition, they were convincing pagan people to convert to Christianity, and so they were like, "Hey, you can keep your traditions. You can still put a tree in your house if you want to." The only thing is, real quick, if you don't say that you are Christian, we will kill you. But you can keep the tree in the house if you want. Like, and that was how they started to convert all of these people, and it's just so horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff around here. I think for me, the main thing, well, and then we're wrapping up the show now, but I think it's interesting to speculate about it all. There's so many aspects of all of this, of what was going on socially, what was going on politically. A lot of it is we really can only speculate until we get further, more stories about what was happening in history then. I will ask, have you heard of Dan McClellan?
I haven't seen or read any of his stuff yet, so.
Okay. Go look him up. I think he has a YouTube channel and all of that as well. So you could start here. You would love it's super interesting. And he always brings in a lot of nuance to these topics. And I think you'd find it really fascinating and how this all plays out. I find him to be really honest, and he's great at doing his best to avoid any dogmas while looking at all of this. And I think that's the most important when examining things like this. But yeah, I appreciate you so much for calling in.
Well, I mean, I don't want to look at the dogma or anything, because
if
you're going to follow a faith, you should be following the faith, not the dogma. The dogma is what causes so many problems.
Right. Because as soon as you take out like your ability to think freely, then we've got problems. So, well, thanks for calling in. Is there anything else before we let you go and we wrap up the show?
Not really. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Siobhan. Have a good night.
Good night.
Woohoo! Everyone,
I need to make sure
everyone in the
get
chat. Oh my God, yes. Everyone in the chat was quoting Monty Python in that moment.
I've never seen Monty Python.
I've seen bits and pieces, but admittedly, I've not seen the whole thing. But they were all, there's a part of Monty Python where they say no one expects the Spanish Inquisition. And so as we were saying that, there were like comment after comment after, like a million comments. And I was like, you guys need to stop watching Monty Python.
That is hilarious. Did you see my table just almost fall? That was terrible. Okay, I have asked for the doggies to be brought to me. Also, like, if you guys could see this full setup, I'm basically stuck in this giant chair, and there's this table in front of me that will fall at any given moment. In fact, when we did the New Year's show, I like sliced my thumb open. There's like a little scar there now from this same thing. So I'm going to have to ask my husband to like very carefully hand me the dogs. I don't even hear him yet, but Anyways, lovely show. Shall we get to our super chats while I'm waiting on the dog?
Yes.
$5 from Larry Fishman. I doubt anyone is going to get this, but penguins. Wait, why do I mean, isn't that just how it sounds when somebody British says penguin?
It sounds like it.
I think so.
I'm gonna look it up.
But I like our Morgan, was that you that made our poll? Because I loved that. I don't remember exactly what it
Yes,
said,
it
but I
was.
remember it said something about it. Love it.
Apparently, Benedict Cumberbatch can't say penguins, and he says penguins.
I remember that from back in my Reddit days. That's where it
really
was from.
funny. I did not know that. That's silly. Okay, $5 from Monkey at Typewriter. I think your first meeting is going to require some setup, lighting, and some soft colors. Maybe the theme song from the Dawson's Creek in the background. I forgot about that. He's talking about when you and I meet for the first time. Absolutely soft lighting. Dawson's Creek theme song. That's hilarious. I love it. We need it to be filmed in slow-mo.
Yes, 100%. $10 from my friend Archradish. To go around our YouTube overlords, 7 can go pluck his shelf. Love y'all. Oh, love you. And I have the dogs. Okay, be really careful because this table, if you even touch it, it's going to drop everything. You can just hand them to me. Well, Bonnie has like doggy Parkinson's, so needs to like she can't get on things by herself. Okay, this is Bonnie. And this is Radio. Do you want to say hi? And this is my husband.
Hi.
Hi. Oh my gosh.
Radio's. Oh, look at the doggies. They're all meeting. Thank you so much.
Wow. This is Noli. Oh my god. Can you leave?
You can leave them here.
Oh my god, look at
I'll just come down.
Okay, you're Bonnie with her little bow.
Her little bow. And
It's
look at
so
Radio's
cute.
bow tie.
Radio's a great name. Oh my god.
He's like, why am I doing this?
Little man. He's so handsome. He's so fancy. Oh, and this is my handsome boy, Astro. He's like, are we talking handsome? If so, here I am.
Hi, Bun.
Gorgeous.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Wait,
you want to show off? You want to show off your bow?
You look beautiful. Look at you.
They're so annoyed because they were so comfy downstairs. Don't try to jump; you will fall. Okay, sorry. Anyways, back to our what do you call it? Super chats. Is this one? No, this one's you.
$4.99 from Donkey Butt. I struggle with seeking approval from others, especially women, because of low self-esteem. Working on it by doing things for me, but how do I know when I'm ready? I think it's important to consider, and this is not an easy thing, feedback, including rejection, is neutral. When somebody decides that they want to, like, if you were to approach someone and they reject you in any way, it actually has nothing to do with you and all to do with them and their preferences or whatever it might be. In those moments, like if you can remind yourself, feedback is neutral. This is a neutral event, actually. And don't lose sleep over people who didn't realize how awesome you are. Because you're going to want to date somebody who realizes how awesome you are. And so if they are not feeling it, then great. That's neutral feedback for you. That person's not a great fit for you. And now you can move forward. It's one less person in the giant pool. And you're getting closer and closer to meeting somebody who will be a great fit for you. That's what
I love that. That's so well said. $5 from Monkey at Typewriter. The weird thing about the Balaam story is dude's donkey just started talking to him and he just goes on with the convo like a donkey wasn't talking. He actually argues with it. I'm pretty sure what happens. Yeah, also the reason this conversation takes place is because there's an angel, I think, with a fiery sword blocking the road. So it's like there's a lot of really sus claims made in that story.
Yeah, a lot going on. $10 from Alyssa Nguyen. Is it Nguyen? I always say it wrong the first time. Win.
I think
no
it's just
N.
win. Yes.
Win.
Exactly.
Okay. I always say it wrong the first time, and then I get it on the second. One day I'll get it right on the first. Okay. Alyssa, win. I always need to remember win. Like win. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways. Regarding rich people, in 2009, I had surgery with a surgeon from Dr. 90210. Oh my God, that's funny. Yeah, the reality show. After a consult, I went to Panda at a mall food court and got real plate silverware and drink glasses. I'm confused.
I think that's like a restaurant name.
Like Panda Express. But
Panda
I think
Express.
I'm confused. I'm confused about maybe the context. I don't remember what we were talking about.
Being bougie and fancy and caviar and the snacks, and you were going when your experience in Colorado. Yeah.
Yes.
It's funny.
Okay, yes.
We definitely have our own worlds. That's always interesting when you get to experience somebody else's.
Yes. This feels like that felt like a conversation we had 800 years
a lifetime ago. Yeah. $7 from her ladyship. Thank you both and everyone else on the line for all that you do here. This is the kind of content that is sorely needed at times such as these. Oh, well, thank you guys for being here. Oh, radio has an itch. We wouldn't be here without you guys. So this is I look forward to this every week. I've missed it the last few weeks, and I'm glad that we're back.
Yeah, me too. $10 from Ash Glitch. All hail Promise, Almighty Creator of the universe, and her disciples, Forrest and Alyssa.
This
Amen.
is, I'm pretty sure, a reference to one of the conversations we had with a theist last week. I said something about like I can write a better Bible and I'm God now and blah blah blah. And anyways, that's where that came from. So you're totally invited to be part of my cult if you want.
I love it. I'm in. I'm sold.
$9.99 from Rachel Ramon Donlin. President Biden's called the archivist of the Constitution, order her to publish the ERA. We are willing to fight in court. Any excuses can be shot down. Precedent, stir a movement. We have nothing to lose. Sorry, I was reading that, so I wasn't focusing on what I was reading. Oh, I see what you're saying. President Biden called the I got confused with the S. Archivist of the Constitution, order her to publish the ERA. We are willing to fight in court. Any excuses can be shot down. Precedent, stir a movement. We have nothing to lose. Are you looking this up so that we know what we're talking about?
I was responding to Alyssa Wynn in the chat, but I am confused about what we're talking about.
I am going to look it up.
Order her to
well,
publish.
Regardless. Oh, the Equal Rights Amendment. I've heard a little bit about this. I don't know enough to say anything right now. So I'll just say thank you. And now we have reading to go do to see what I think about all of this. I kind of agree with you on the we have nothing to lose thing.
Yeah. 10 Canadian dollars from Quantum Chaos. Happy early birthday, Promise, and also happy, maybe extremely early birthday, Alyssa, so nobody can blame me for not remembering when it happens.
Thank you.
That's really funny. My birthday's in October, so you're super early, and thank you.
Yeah, we all missed it. You were sneaky. You just let it happen. $4.99 from I Am the Big Cheese. Cosmos always existed. Big Bang is expansion from singularity. Matter always existed. Newton's law, singularity isn't nothing. Yeah, I don't know, and that's the problem. And that's what I was just going to keep saying to Jamal over and over and over again.
Yeah, and it's all of those things,
so
like anytime like this conversation is happening and these things are being referenced, they always call them theories for a reason. Like these are all theories. Like we can't.
Well, I'll push back a little bit because scientific theories are way more, because the other problem is you have theists call in and say, well, it's just the theory of evolution. It's like, it's actually, theory is a really sound thing. It's not the same way when we say a theory colloquially. So like we can theorize about things colloquially, but theories are really sound. So like the Big Bang
Yeah.
Theory, that's not just like this idea that we have. That's
Yeah.
information that we know about our universe. The problem is we don't have theories for anything before that. And or if there was a before or what any of that looks like. So anyways,
Right.
sorry to be specific.
No,
there,
not at
but-
all. I'm here, I'm always down to be learning.
Because like
this
theory
video
of
I don't remember
gravity,
now.
but we know
Right.
gravity is
But we know
we're
gravity.
experiencing it
Right.
right now. Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. Was this me? Maybe $5 from
I
Heathen
think-
Granny 666. Another thing about Christianity that I hate is that it was forced onto my ancestors, and they were told that if they did not convert, they would die. Yeah, exactly. It's colonization. It's yucky.
Yeah, it is yucky. $20 from my dude Leaky Tiki. Just showing my support, so humor me. How well can y'all read this? Oh God, I slit
I'm so
the
glad
sheet.
you got this.
I slit the sheet. The sheet I slit, and on the slitted sheet I sit. Keep up the great work. That wasn't so bad.
Amazing. Well done. That was really
That
good.
wasn't so bad. I read it slowly, but that wasn't so bad.
$5 from Monkey a Typewriter. I like how Jamal just kept ending lines of questions at, well, logically, there are only the possibilities my little human brain can conjure. Yeah, that was a script, and that was presupposition, basically, is what I was able to finally gather.
Yeah, it was very, that was a really annoying, yes, it was annoying, but that was just like frustrating. It felt like we were just with that man.
That's exactly what was happening.
Yeah. 1999 from Cody Cooper. Just because I love all the shows and their crazy callers, so much entertainment. Thank you, Cody.
Thanks, Cody. Thanks so much for the support. $5 from Heathen Granny 666. I'm immune to God because the Bible never mentions my people, Native Americans, but I am half of Spanish descent. So would I be half not immune to God?
It's a great question. I'd love to know the answer.
$10 from Mike Olson. Oh, sorry. This is you, isn't it?
It's okay.
Go for it.
$10 from Mike Olson. It's totally fine. Hey, Promise and Alyssa, keep putting on the good fight and being not only entertaining, but also informative and challenging. I look forward to the latest episode every time I get a notification. Thank you, Mike. That's so kind.
Thanks so much, Mike. Thank you.
That's really nice.
I love this place. This is great. $4.99
It's a good
from
place
Poor
over
Claire.
here.
Promise has had a dog this whole time and has never paid the dog tax. Show us your dog. So I have my dog, and he is 11, and I had him basically the first half of his life. And then when or not even the first half, but when I moved, because I also I stopped believing in a God, and I left the church I was in, and I basically started my life over again. My parents were watching him all the time anyways, because I feel really bad for dogs just staying home by themselves, and I was working and they were working from home. So it made sense. So I asked them if they would want to keep him. He is obsessed with them. They spoil him absolutely rotten. This dog eats better than I do. Like, I was just looking at this organic, whatever, not raw. I don't know what it is. It's all kinds of fancy food. So he is my dog, except not really, because now he's been theirs for a bit, but he treats me still the same. He if my mom tells him that I'm coming over, he loses his mind. So that's why you guys don't see him, because generally I'm not with him. Also, I'm out of the country half the year. So anyways, there's my dog tax.
20 pounds from Herbie Shine. I demand this super chat goes towards Promise's birthday snacky snacks. Or not, but it should. Even though Bonnie isn't a cat, I have to say her impression of Alyssa's farting is great, and she is cute. I know.
Hilarious.
Honestly,
Thanks, Herbie.
It is very Bonnie to have like she gives evil villains sometimes, so it makes sense that she would try and fool everyone into thinking I'm farting. That would be something she would intentionally do.
Hilarious. Yeah. $5 from Mike Olson. There are too many folks out there that group atheist and anti-theist together. What do you both recommend to counter with folks like that? I mean, that's what I actively am working on doing. A lot of the content I make is to normalize atheism. And I think asking people, what do you think an atheist is a great place to start, because it lets them go ahead and voice whatever assumptions they have about atheism. And then you can correct those, because the only thing you can know about somebody if they say that they're an atheist is that they don't believe in a God. Other than that, you have to actually have conversation and engage and figure out where they stand on different things. So being an anti-theist is its own other category. So, and also I even find between anti-theists, like a lot of people I know call themselves an anti-theist, and that ranges anywhere from somebody that actively thinks that religion should be banned to people that are just like, it's just my personal value that theism is not good and shouldn't exist. And there is nuance there too. So anyways, Bonnie says she agrees.
Funny. 10 Canadian dollars from Quantum Chaos. I can say that as someone who went a bit farther down the alt-right pipeline than I'd like to admit, it was women, not men, who saved me from it. Women don't owe men anything, but early intervention helps. That's really interesting. I would love for you to call in sometime and tell us more about that, because I'm very interested
that would be so interesting.
In what that experience was like for you. And thank you for sharing and supporting us.
Yes. $5 from Bobby Kinniston. What did 0 say to the number 8? Nice belt, but in all seriousness, 0 can't talk. Thanks for the great show. Someday I will dare to call. I love that. Please call.
Yeah, Bobby, please call. I can't wait.
We're pretty decently nice and not that scary, I think.
Yeah. $6.66. Nice. From Carla J. Idea for new chewed gum sign off. See you next Tuesday. Ha, that's cute. And do
you get it, Alyssa?
More? Yes, I get it.
Okay.
I love it. Thanks for the idea.
So
Team Body. It is very cute. I mean, I feel like I'm so desensitized to words like that I'm like, it is cute.
I agree. I actually love that word. Obviously I don't like it used direct. I love that now it's become a thing, like a fashionable, like I really love that.
Yeah, me too. Gen Z gifted us that. And obviously
love
hashtag
them.
Team Bonnie. We have 2 Bonnies. Team Bonnie.
2 Bonnies in the house. $5 for Monkey a Typewriter. It's a little unfortunate that force doesn't solve problems, because the patriarchy would be killing it. Seriously, we'd be in a utopia. Stupid nuances. Yeah. I do think that in general, are progressing more. It's, slow, and there's always ebbs and flows and different things and pendulum swings, when we make progress. But in general, we are becoming more nuanced, because we're having more information. We're using that information more when we look at things and form our opinions. So I don't know. I feel good about it long term. It's the short term where I'm like, oh, what kind of shit is going to hit the fan that makes us not even get the long term? So
right. Exactly. I agree. $10 from President Starscream. So many great callers tonight, and our hosts really nailed it. Thanks. I see so much of my journey of deconstruction mirrored in some callers, and I wish them the best in their own journeys. Thank you. That's really kind. That's a great example of being compassionate even when you potentially disagree. It's very nice.
$10 from Charlie Carrot. Here's my dog tax refund. Love all the doggos. And look at the cat. We got some cat tax in there too. Thank you.
Hello. $20 from LG Song for the doggies. Aw, thanks. Also, the Inquisition song is from Mel Brooks' History of the World, not Monty Python. Oh, okay, I was wrong. You should watch it ASAP, along with the big 3 MP movies. Start with Holy Grail or Life of Brian. Love you both. Thank you. I'll add it to my list. Although,
thanks for the support.
I don't for some reason I have some resistance to watching it. Like, something about it annoys me, and I don't know why. I think I have an ex who really liked Monty Python, and so I have a hard time.
That'll ruin a movie. That will ruin a movie right there.
Right? I'm so stubborn about it, but it's really silly because so many people love it that surely it's great and worth the watch. And I just am like, I don't want to. It's really silly.
Yeah.
I'll watch it though.
Yeah.
I will. At some point in my life, I will watch it. And I will watch all 3.
$5 from SJL. My beagle Abby would act like she wanted to kill your dogs if they met. Unless they are small and confident, then she is terrified.
Oh, that's what we got. That's what we got.
That is definitely what we got.
Small and confident.
Look at his teeth.
Oh,
Brady, you don't want to.
teethies.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
He's embarrassed. $5
sleepy.
from, maybe this is Cade Moore. I feel like I might be pronouncing that wrong, but correct me if so. This show is a great palate cleanser midweek for the line shows. Nothing quite like puppies and positivity before Matt's Wednesday expletive storm. That's really nice. I've never thought about it that way, that we're like a little bit of a palate cleanser. That's really cute. I love it. Sometimes I wonder if because our show is like a little more chill and softer, if at some point people will get bored with us, but I've never thought about it like a palate cleanser in the scheme of all of the others.
I think it's not like we don't get some interesting calls, and it's not like you and I both don't hold our own and have our moments. We just
That's
also
true.
get a lot of positive stuff that comes in, which I think is really fun. I also thought it was hilarious when Alyssa was talking about how like, oh, I'm going to be careful and not say, when you were saying you didn't want to curse. And immediately my head goes back to Sunday. I was hosting with Matt. We can cuss on here. That's not going to, we're the least worry on the line as far as shows and language goes. So
yeah, no, you're right.
Is this one? No, this one's you.
I think this is you. Is it me?
Oh, is it me? Just kidding. I'm losing my mind. $5 from Bobby Kinniston. How about this? She stood on the balcony, inexplicably mimicking him hiccuping and amicably welcoming him in. I did it. I think. Did I do it? Did I say it right?
Or amicably is the only one that I think the word at the end. Amicably?
Great. So I did mess it up.
I mean, okay, I want to try. She stood on the balcony, inexplicably mimicking him, hiccuping and amicably welcoming him in. That's hard. Where are you guys finding all these?
That is tough.
Yeah. $5 from Jason Jones. Goose tax. Honk, honk. Wee honk. Honk. Did I say that right?
I think that was really good.
Thank you.
$5 for Monkey a Typewriter. Oh, also, thanks for your kind words about the picture I sent. Kiddo decided to climb into my laundry pile, and I turned around to him in my DATH or DATH shirt. That was so cute. Thank you for sharing that with us. Thanks to Amargan, we were able to see the most adorable photo of a future DATH wearing, DATH shirt wearing kiddo.
Yeah, that
was
so cool and like made my day. I loved it.
Mine too. I loved that. Well, thank you guys. Alyssa, I love you. I missed you, and I'm glad that we're back together. Love the rest of you so much. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you to Amargan and our screeners and our
best.
And our patrons.
Thank you to our call screener. Maybe it was Amargan. And thank you to everybody in the chat too. Thanks for, even though I suck and I don't know how, but
thanks for chatting.